All right. It is 5:01 p.m. and I will call to order the MISD Board Governance discussion with staff. Thank you all very much for coming. We're very excited to share with you the information that we've been working on for some time now, and to also we look forward to getting your feedback regarding the work. But without further ado, let me turn it over to our Superintendent, Rod Schroeder. Rod?
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Glad to have you all here. This is really, I think, an exciting evening. First thing I want to say is we wanted the staff to hear this message first before it went to the newspaper, and so you guys are the first ones getting it. I think you need to really appreciate what this board has done. There were 4 intense days of training that we all went through to come to this point. They've spent hours working on the goals and the constraints, and they did that in conjunction with the new superintendent and building a profile, at least a partial profile going forward. So they need a hand from y'all because they have worked very hard. So I think Mr. Horner sent out instructions to everybody. Is that correct? Oh, you will look for Mr. Horner's email. He will be sending the instructions, but basically what we really want to do is we want to collect campus input on these goals. They were established by the board, and what we're really wanting to get from you is your consent, basically, to move forward. We think they're good goals, and they will drive the district forward with a focus on instruction, which is what we really need to do. So without further words from me, I'm going to turn the mic over to Brian Murray, one of our new board members, and he's going to take it from here. Brian?
Probably should have shared my notes with Mr. Schroeder. In fact, he stepped all over the front of my document already. Well, I just want to say thank you for being here tonight. We know that the biggest assets in MISD are sitting in this room tonight, or they will be presented with this presentation on Wednesday at your staff meetings. We are presenting this to our administration, our teachers, our support staff first, because we know you are the ones who make a difference in the education of our children, and who will be hands-on daily in the classroom, in the cafeteria, on the playground, and on the bus ride home. We as a board spent 2 days training back in November on Lone Star Governance with A.J. Crable, the Deputy Commissioner of Governance for the Texas Education Agency. In mid-January, we invited the Deputy Commissioner back to Midland to lead us in another 2-day workshop to develop our own plan for MISD governance. In addition, there have been many special meetings to help refine this document. The board has spent a great deal of time crafting each word of this draft. We would like to provide a special thanks to Mr. Schroeder and to the to the teaching and learning team, because they attended every meeting, every workshop, every training, and sacrificed additional time gathering data so that we would be creating and presenting a smart document. We are here tonight to present the draft of that governance. Once finalized with your input and the input of the community, it will serve as a district guide for the next 3 years. The document clearly defines our district vision and mission statement, theories of action, student outcome goals, student goal progress measures, both superintendent and board constraints, and a monitoring calendar to help us review the annual targets. On a campus visit last week, I had the pleasure of visiting with Miss Angie Aaron at Parker Elementary, and I think she's back over here somewhere. Are you here? Okay, there you are, okay. She had many exciting things to say and shared the goals for her campus. But one of her notable quotes that stuck with me is, "When teachers lead, you see results." Our board believes this wholeheartedly. We believe in you. We want you to join us as we begin this process of returning our district to the status of excellence that you, the board, and our community demand and expect. As you take this presentation back to your individual campuses, please review the goals to make sure the targets are obtainable, but also that we have challenged ourselves and you to reach beyond the normal comfort level. One of the underlining themes of our training has been, in order for student outcomes to change, adult behaviors must change first. The document will serve as a blueprint for transforming our district, but will also serve as an expectation document for our upcoming superintendent search. A search has begun and will be gaining steam over the coming weeks. An online public survey is available now on the MISD website under the Superintendent Search Quick Link, if you want to go there and get started on that. A calendar of important dates is also posted if you would like to review the process. Important dates to remember up front are March 6th through 8th. The search firm will begin meeting with the board, our MISD administration, you, our teachers, select community groups, and will host the open community meetings. The survey, together with this input gathered from these meetings, will help to develop a leadership profile that will assist the firm as they search for and review potential candidates. After a list of candidates has been formed, there will be 2 rounds of interviews by the board. We hope to identify and approve a finalist of our next superintendent by the end of May, with an expected start date of July 1st. In the meantime, we expect business as usual under the leadership of Mr. Schroeder. I would like to express the gratitude of the entire board for the great job he is doing and the determination to effect change in his short time with us. It has become apparent on my campus visits that there is a revived spirit and a change in momentum for our district. He truly has a heart for students, and his leadership has set the tone for a new day at MISD. At this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to our board president, Rick Davis, for the MISD governance document review. As he makes his way down to the podium, just let me remind you that the document that you're going to see tonight will be in its entirety on the MISD website. Also, there will be a survey for your input that is already on the website for your campus, and it's under the board webpage, and it's titled 2017 Board Goals and Constraints. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And on behalf of the entire school board, we'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight, for listening, for giving us your feedback, hopefully your consent, your affirmation of the work that we've done. But most of all, thank you for what you do for our students each and every day. As Brian alluded to, one thing that's been drilled into our head is that student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change. Student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change. And we decided to start with ourselves, the board. We have a newly constituted board, and we're grateful for the new 3 members. We're grateful for the returning members as well. And it was time for us to take, it was a good time with 3 new board members to take a hard look at ourselves and the way we do things and to see if we need to do things differently. And we decided that we did. And with the help of Commissioner Grable, we did take a self-evaluation of ourselves and decided that we agreed with him that we need to clearly identify the things that were important to us. As a board, we are to represent the values and vision of our community, and we needed to do that. We need to clearly identify what those visions and values were. We need to identify student outcomes that reflected what this community wanted, and we need to provide the structure and the support in order to do that. Tonight, we roll that out to you, and as Brian mentioned, all of our work in its entirety is available on the website. A portion of it you will see this evening on PowerPoint slides. A portion of it I will read to you because I think it's important. But thank you for listening tonight. And then I'm challenged here. Which I hit this button?
To the right. To the right.
To the right. Okay. First, we started with our MISD mission vision statement. We actually argued the difference between a mission and a vision, and there are differences between the two, but we decided to combine them in one. Keep it nice and simple and clear. That is that we propose to you that all students will graduate prepared and ready for college and career. We also needed to clearly identify the board's role versus the superintendent's role in going forward. Some of this is not new and it's not groundbreaking science, but we thought, again, it's important that we clearly identify, delineate, and communicate to ourselves, to this superintendent, to our next superintendent, to all of you, and to the community what we view those roles to be. First, the board's role is to ensure creation of a shared mission vision that promotes improved student outcomes. We do this by incorporating the community's vision and values, as I mentioned, into 1, student outcome goals, 2, superintendent constraints that I'll talk about in a minute, and 3, board constraints that I'll also talk about in a minute. 2, it's the board's role to measure and communicate how well the mission and vision is being accomplished along the way. We seek to do that through monthly monitoring of the district performance to ensure progress towards that vision and towards those goals. Oftentimes, if you attended our board meetings, you know a lot of time is spent on a lot of things other than student outcome goals and performance and progress towards same. We hope to focus going forward most of our time on doing just that and not the other things that we've spent our time on. 3, the board's role is to provide guidance and direction for accomplishing the mission and vision. We propose to do that through identifying distinct board roles versus superintendent roles and responsibilities of each. The board's role includes selecting the superintendent. And let me again take a time out and say how grateful we are that Rod Schroeder was willing to come out of retirement and be our interim superintendent. We are so grateful for the work he's doing. We think it's fabulous work, and we're so grateful. We also think he's going to play an integral role in moving forward and help us select our next superintendent, which we have embarked to do so, as Brian went over with you. And we also have a superintendent search page on the website that you can access. We also need to clearly delineate the delegation of duties to the superintendent, the authority and responsibility to implement the board's goals, and the superintendent within the law and within the superintendent constraints. And we'll also consider and vote on the superintendent's recommendations. 4, it's the board's role to work with the superintendent to lead the district toward that mission and vision that we've established, or that we hope to establish through this work. But to do this, we need to behave in a manner that demonstrates the unity of the board and the district. 5, it's the board's role to promote that mission and vision by providing advocacies for students, families, staff, and stakeholders. We also need to clearly delineate the superintendent's role and clearly communicate this to our next superintendent. I believe that Mr. Schroeder had no trouble in embracing all this role, but we want to be sure and communicate that the next person that holds this position, this is what we expect of them. Or her, excuse me. The superintendent, as the board's sole delegate, excluding the attorney and internal auditor, his role is to manage district operations and be responsible for accomplishing the board's student outcome goals within the boundaries provided by the board and superintendent constraints in state and federal law. It'll also require, in doing so, a number of board policies that we will adopt. In fact, once this process is completed, this final version of what I'm presenting so far this evening and what you'll hear more about will be incorporated formally into MISD board policy. It'll actually be AE Local, an AE Local exhibit for those that are familiar with the policy manual. All right, let's get to the part that you're probably most interested in. The board student outcome goals for the superintendent. Again, we seek your affirmation to finalize these goals, but part of it is we present the information to you this evening, go back to your respective campuses, We hope to get reports from you. Mr. Horner's email will, I guess, more specifically delineate. Hope you'll go back and as a campus respond. And also there'll be an opportunity for you individually to respond anonymously online through the website. In coming up with these goals, part of the training that we received, and this is something that all of us in business also knew, but certainly the commissioner drove it home for us, and that is an organization that sets 7, 8, 10 or more goals is not likely to achieve any of them. However, an organization that establishes 3 or so goals is more likely to achieve them all. And so, with that in mind, we sought to identify 3 goals. And in doing so, we looked to the teaching and learning staff, that team who are the educational professionals, that to help us come up with these student goals. And what we liked with what they came up and what is in this document, because we certainly approved it, we liked what I call the stacked nature of those goals, because I was concerned with only 3 goals district-wide. There's a chance that some of you may feel left out, that there's not a chance for you to contribute toward these student outcome goals. I think you'll see, and if you'll think about each one carefully, there's a chance for every single person here and every single employee to contribute toward these goals, because they range from, early age all the way through secondary. Specifically, goal 1, the percentage of students in grades K through 2 who are reading on or above grade level on multiple measures will increase from 50% to 75% by the end of the school year 2020. Second, the percentage of students in grades 3 through 8 who meet standard on both reading and math STAR will increase from 52% to 75% by the end of the school year 2020. And third, the 4-year graduation rate will increase from 85% for the graduating class of 2015. And as y'all know, as well as anyone, gets a delayed reporting, as reported in November 2016, increase that number from 85% for the graduation class of 2015 to 95% for the graduating class of 2020, as reported in November 2021. In formulating these goals, we were advised that we wanted them to be SMART goals, and many of you are familiar with that term, but just to review, we wanted all the outcome goals to be SMART, meaning that they're specific, measurable, attainable, results-focused, and time-bound. There's a time date by which you're going to judge these. These are all designed to be, as you see, by the year 2020. These are 3-year goals. We could have chosen 4, we could have chosen 5, but we believe the urgency of getting this district back on track the way it should be, the way we all expect, the way all of you want it to be, the way this community wants it to be, is we need to set 3-year goals and get moving. The other thing, in addition to being smart, these goals are designed with this other concept in mind. That not only are they smart, but they will challenge the organization and require adult behavior change. They will challenge the organization and require adult behavior change. These goals are not designed to be simply, what is our trend line so far, the last 5 years, and let's just continue that trend and make that our goal. These goals are intended to be a challenge to this organization and to the adult behaviors, all of us, including the board. Now, what is not in on a PowerPoint presentation, but is in the materials online available to you that I know that you will look at, because they're of great importance to you. In addition to these goals, or a companion to these goals, are goal progress measures. Within each of these goals, we've identified at least 3, if not 4, goal progress measures and annual targets for each of these goals. The goal progress measures are designed to be predictive of whether or not you're on track to meet those goals. And they're also designed to be progress measures that are influenceable by the superintendent, the teaching and learning team, and each of you. And again, I apologize they aren't in PowerPoint, but let me give you some examples. Again, that first goal, which if you're looking at it on the screen here, the percentage of students in grades K through 2 are reading on or above grade level on multiple measures will increase from 50% to 75% by the end of school year 2020. There are 3 goal progress measures that accompany that goal that are indicated to be predictive of whether we're on track and predictive early enough to tell us and to tell all of us whether or not, if we're not on track, that gives us enough time to try and take remedial measures to get us on track. Those include as follows. Number 1, as an example, the percentage of students in grades K through 2 who are reading on or above grade level on iStation, iEspanol will increase from 57% to 85% by the end of the school year 2020. We're currently at a baseline of 57% on those measures. The annual target for the end of this school year is for the percentage of students in grades K through 2 are reading on or above grade level on the iStation, iEspanol measurements. We hope to be by 60% the end of this school year. Yes, in just a few months. 69% the end of next school year. 77% the end of the school year after that. And by the end of the 2020 school year, 85%, using that goal progress measure, those standards. Second goal progress measure on this first goal is that the percentage of students in grades K through 2 who are reading on or above grade level on Fontes and Pinnell will increase from 68% to 85% by the end of the school year 2020. As I've come to learn and been educated by the teaching and learning team, that the iEspanol and the iStation measure this progress, but this test measures it a different way. And this different way should be used as a goal progress measure to figure out whether predictive and on track to make that overarching goal that's on your screen is number 1. We're currently at a baseline of 68% as of December 2016. We hope to be 70% by the end of this school year, 75% the end of the next year, 80% the end of next year, 85% by the end of the school year 2020. The third and final goal progress measure for this particular student goal is that the percentage of pre-kindergarten students producing 20-letter sounds on a district checkpoint will increase from an expected performance of 65% to 85% by the end of the school year 2020. We're actually going to determine our baseline percentage for this. By the end of this school year, we anticipate it'll be 65%. We'd like it to be higher, but we anticipate it'll be 65%. We haven't measured this before as a district checkpoint measure. We hope it's increased by 10% the next year, 5% the next year, and 5% to reach our 85% goal. All right. For those of you in grades 3 through 8, what are the goal progress measures for goal number 2? They are as follows. We have 4 of them. The percentage of students in grades 3 through 8 on track to meet level 2 satisfactory on both reading and math district checkpoints will increase from 52% to 75% by the end of the school year 2020. Currently at 52%. At the end of the school year next year, our annual target is 65%. After that, 70%, and then 75% by the end of the 2020 school year. Second goal progress measure on this second goal is the percentage of economically disadvantaged students in grades 3 through 8 on track to meet level 2 satisfactory on both reading and math. District checkpoints will increase from 39% to 70% by the end of the school year 2020. Currently, we hope to increase that percentage to 50% end of next school year, 60% after that, 70% after that. Number 3, the percentage of students in grades 3 through 8 on track to meet level 3 on both reading and math will increase from 6% to 15% by the end of school year 2020. Hope it to be 9% at the end of next year, 12% at the end of after that, with 15% by the end of the school year 2020, yes. And then 4th, the percentage of students in grades 3 through 8 who score on or above grade level in both reading, utilizing iStation and iEspanol, and math, utilizing Renaissance Math, will increase. I don't have that one in front of me on my deal. I apologize for that. That's online. 3rd goal. All right, secondary. We jump now to graduation rate, which includes all of you in the secondary, all the grades, all of those that are going to make this possible. The 4-year graduation rate, is to increase from 85% to 95% for the graduating class of 2020. There are 2 goal progress measures. I said 3, I'm sorry. 2, the percentage of first-year freshmen leaving 9th grade with Algebra 1 credit will increase from 79% to 91% by the end of the school year 2020. Hope it to be 82% by the end of this school year, 85% by the end of next school year, 88% the year after that, and 91% by the end of school year 2020. The second goal progress measure is a percentage of first-year students earning 6 or more credits will increase from 79% to 88% by the end of school year 2020. The annual target for the end of this year is 80%, 82% the next, 85% the next, and 88% by the end of the school year 2020. All right. I mentioned these a couple of times. Now let's talk about them. Board's constraints for the superintendent. While in pursuit of the board's student outcome goals, this is what the superintendent shall not do. In achieving those goals, the superintendent shall not allow, 1, any campus to not fully implement and maintain professional learning communities. Quite frankly, I believe this is at the core of how this district can best improve student outcome performance. And I hope that this is a constraint that each of you embrace. I know I've heard a lot of feedback already about how we need to give more discretion to teachers on how to teach. The state of Texas mandates what we must teach our students through the TEKS. The professional learning communities, however, is an opportunity for teachers at grade level among themselves to determine for themselves how best to teach those TEKS to their students. Learning from each other, utilizing the experience of each other, and using the formative assessments that will identify the things that are working and the things that are not, and to make sure that everybody on that grade level and that subject level are utilizing what is working and changing what is not working. That's at the core of what we believe is improvement. We believe this empowers teachers to do what teachers want to do. but it's important that it be implemented with fidelity. We've already, some campuses, majority of campuses were in year one. Now they were implemented last year. Now they're in year two. A number of campuses began this year for the first year. Next year, all campuses will have implemented professional learning communities. And this superintendent, as you well know, this program was begun before he arrived, but he champions this idea, and for good reason. And the research that we've done and the folks that we've talked to statewide, including the commissioners of education, all endorse this as a core fundamental principle that each district that seeks to improve should adopt. And that's exactly what we propose to do. Another constraint on the superintendent is that he shall not allow, or she shall not allow, adult convenience or preference to take priority over the academic progress of our students. 3, superintendent shall not allow improvement required or formally improvement required campuses to have a principal with fewer than 2 years in-role experience. Once finalized, all of these documents, particularly these including these superintendent constraints, will be communicated to all our superintendents, applicants who seek to become our next permanent superintendent. I know some of the other feedback that I've gotten from teachers and principals are that, well, is this going to change? Is the new superintendent going to come in and change all this and change the board goals? The answer is no. In fact, we're clear that once this is finalized, and we won't finalize it till we hear back from you and seek your affirmation, we hope of that, and also seek community's permission 2 weeks from now, the next 2 weeks following this week, is that we will make sure that the superintendent, whoever they may be, who applies for this job, knows that this is what we expect of him or her. They'll be given discretion, of course, on various things, but this is what the board, hopefully as a reflection of this community, its vision and values, wants our next superintendent to lead us into. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. I'm sorry, I forgot to put up the third one. I read it. Improvement required, or formally improvement required campuses to have a principal with fewer, not allow them to have fewer than 2 years in-role experience. All right. Lest you think that we're off the hook, board, we've established constraints for ourselves too. The board will not allow the board to, 1, make modifications, additions, or subtractions to this policy, which, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be our AE local, more than once a year. Now, what I mean by that, what I really anticipate is that the overarching goals will not change. But if, for example, we meet our annual targets with ease, well, then maybe we need to raise the bar or consider raising the bar. Or if, whatever, if IS Espanol or what other measurement we're using, there's a better one out there, or they go out of business, God forbid, then maybe we'll have, those are the kind of things we will adjust. But the fundamental goals we expect to remain the same. There might be some tweaking needed, but for good reason, not because we've abandoned these goals or think they're not important as a first step for improving this district. The board will not allow the board to collectively, as a board or any trustee individually, to perform or appear to perform any of the roles delegated to the superintendent. We are not the professional educators, although some of us have some experience. Collectively as a board, and even individually as a trustee, that is not our role in this process. 3rd, the board shall not allow the board to collectively or any trustee individually to violate this board policy, AE local, by establishing other goals, priorities, or not promoting this vision, mission, and supporting staff, teachers, principals, in implementing this. We're also going, lest you think you're the only ones that get evaluated, we're going to conduct our self-evaluations as well. We're going to conduct formative self-evaluations at least quarterly and within 45 days prior to conducting the annual superintendent evaluation. The board shall self-evaluate using the TEA implementation fidelity instrument that we've been provided and trained on. Theory of action. Again, I apologize, this is not the subject of PowerPoint, but it is on the website. Theories of actions is the, I guess, philosophies or concepts or the things that we, our vision going forward, if you will. First and foremost, every MISD staff member will have a growth mindset and a no excuses philosophy. As I'm sure you've heard Rod Schroeder tell you and tell us. Every staff member, not just teachers, not just principals, but every staff member, every single MISD employee must have a growth mindset for each of our students and a no excuses philosophy. It's also true for every board member as well. We must also have that. The second theory of action is that we will begin to transition from a managed instruction theory of action to an earned autonomy theory of action, with the goal of having implemented a system of great schools theories of action by 2027. By managed instruction, what we really mean sounds a little inconsistent, but managed instruction is we want to ensure that every campus adopts a no excuses philosophy and a growth mindset and implements with fidelity professional learning communities. The idea is, however, is to then transition over the next few years, hopefully no more than 5 years, to an earned autonomy theory of action within this district. What that means is that if a particular campus meets the threshold and criteria that are established for them to have their earned autonomy, to make decisions for themselves, not central office, but the campus leadership and the teachers on the campus to make certain decisions, so substantive decisions, material decisions. Once they meet the thresholds and the criteria that are established, then they can make those decisions for themselves. The administration will methodically identify paths for performance improvement, align incentives with student performance, ensure educator placement is a function of student needs rather than adult preferences. But the campuses themselves can decide for themselves, once they earn this autonomy, how they can continue forward with their own innovation, their own ideas, and their own ways of doing things once they meet the threshold criteria. And then we hope to transition from that earned autonomy theory of action to a system of great schools, where not only do we grant autonomy to schools, we empower parents to make choices, create performance contract with campuses. We evaluate the demands for schools and the needs. We make strategic decisions regarding growth and access to high-performing schools and addressing low performers. And we will immediately explore in-district charter opportunities to see where they make the most sense for our district. The bottom line is that we hope within 10 years from today that we will be able to afford teachers, parents, and most importantly students a variety of choices that meet their needs, no matter what their needs are, whether they're challenged learners or accelerated learners. We want to provide a system of great schools with great choices for all students. Also, in order to keep our focus on the student outcome performances and on these goals, we've also adopted, or not adopted yet, but also have put together a goal monitoring calendar which each of the goals themselves and each of the goal progress measures will be reviewed. Like each goal will be reviewed at least 4 times a year. And as part of that, we will review each of the goal progress measures as appropriate during the course of the year. The idea, again, is that our focus will be on student outcomes, on the student goals, and whether we're making progress and tracking that, and if we're not, to make sure that we know in advance enough to all of you will know that we're not on track and we need to do something about it in time. There's a lot of A lot of information on here. Don't expect it to be clear to you at this point, but just know, for example, that it represents a 2-year calendar for each and every one of these to be reviewed by the board in connection with our monthly board meetings. All right. There is, I'm going to turn it back over to Rob, but let me just say, echo what Rod said. We're excited about this. We've put a lot of work into it. However, we know that we're not finished yet listening to what the reactions are, what your feedback is, what your campuses say, and what you individually say. But we think that we agree with what we've been taught. Student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change, and this is our start with the help of Rod and with the teaching and learning team to try and make that difference with our own behaviors starting with us. And we invite your support and help to do just that. Again, thank you for what each and every one of you do every day, and we look forward to hearing from you. Where did Rod go?
You just observed a group of individuals that are beginning to get focused about what their role is. Very few boards in the state of Texas has this kind of focus that's developed. And I'm really happy for MISD to see this kind of leadership come from the board, because we do need the board to help us. So I applaud you again, board members, for the work you've done and for the vision you've cast for us. I'm excited. I love those goals. I think those are going to drive us forward. Drive you forward, because I'm going in May. And Brian, it is in the middle of May. You said that we were going to select a superintendent. Okay. So anyway, we want you now to go back to your campus and talk about what you've heard. It is recorded. If you need the recording, you may certainly use it. It was live streamed, I think. Is that correct, technology folks? That's correct. Okay, so it was live streamed for those who wanted to watch it. This will be presented to the community, as Rick said, in several weeks, and we're going to be doing the same kind of thing with them, showing them what work has been done, where we're headed, and what we want to do, and we're asking them to join with us and give their approval to what we're doing. Thank you for being here. You know your task, and so I hope you can all get out of the parking lot without a wreck. Thanks.